happening. All right, let's dive into what everyone tuned into the podcast for, the 2021 NFL mock draft. Jumping in at number 1, Jacksonville Jaguars select quarterback Trevor Lawrence. We don't have to talk about that a ton. Trevor Lawrence is likely the number 1 overall pick, whichever team is picking there. I think there's a non-0% chance Washington picks there and opts for Trevor Lawrence at number 1 overall. They're here at number 2, drafting Justin Fields from Ohio State quarterback to a better Ohio State quarterback. Justin Fields is graded better than Dwayne Haskins has at Ohio State, and the systems have been similar. We've brought that up before about there are some concerns that Dwayne Haskins earned a grade under 84.0 playing at Ohio State. Seth Galina wrote a fantastic article about how good that offense is and how easy that offense is to produce in. The fact that Justin Fields can practically break PFF grades at the quarterback position, Haskins couldn't, is a concern.
Haskins would feel just such like shit if the Washington drafts Justin Fields, which also, by the way, first time I ever wrote out Washington football team, it was electric to write out. That felt, I got
Did you relive it every night or what?
Washington football team just rolls off the tongue. But if they are picking 1 or 2 next year, Washington, it's because Dwayne Haskins wasn't good enough. So you are drafting a quarterback, you're drafting one of these guys because Dwayne Haskins wasn't good enough. And the thing is, Dwayne Haskins, he had Paris Campbell and Terry McLaurin there at Ohio State and didn't grade out as well as Justin Fields. He also had Chris Olave, and Olave was a freshman, but he had better talent, probably objectively, than Justin Fields did at the receiver position, yet could not get the job done.
Good on defense, strong offensive line, similar offensive scheme. It's not night and day here. You're comparing very similar offenses, one of which Justin Fields has blown the doors off of, and Dwayne Haskins has left a lot to be desired. All right.
And the order, by the way, by Super Bowl odds.
No one cares about that. I have a take here.
People do, though.
Why? Why do people care about preseason mock drafts and their order? It's every single time based on odds.
I did want to almost do it just based off of who I thought was going to. I was going to be like, this is based off of just purely my opinion. I wanted to put it at the beginning.
I can't stand people who reply to mock draft tweets or whatever it is saying, no way this team picks
industry
4th. No way this team picks. It's like, dude, this is based off Las Vegas Super Bowl odds. You can go back to your mom's basement where I also reside. Number 3, Miami Dolphins take Penei Sewell. You've said this before. He's going to be the first non-quarterback selected in the 2021 NFL draft, regardless if the Pac-12 plays another snap.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, and I keep bringing this up, he was 18 years old last season. He's not going to turn 20 until October.
That's insane.
Year. He's also 330 pounds, and he moves like a tight end. The guy he's a freak every sense of the word.
He was 18 in that Auburn game where he's out there dominating.
I'm excited to see what his brother looks like. Have you seen his brother's high school highlights? He's like a 265-pound linebacker. He's probably going to end up like a DT because he moves like he flies around the field, but he's like enormous. The guy's... I'm excited to see what he does at Oregon.
That's got to be exciting. All right, number 4, Cincinnati Bengals picking. They grab linebacker Micah Parsons. We've talked about him a ton on this podcast. The best defensive prospect in this class, I'd say. A generational talent at off-ball linebacker. He has the athleticism and not more importantly, but equally important, the production. You see it against the run. You see him recognize blocking concepts, play recognition, all anticipatory mover. That combined with athleticism is why he's a generational linebacker. You compare that to Devin Bush, Devin White. I think they had fantastic movement skills, but they weren't anticipatory movers, guys that really predicted what was going to happen and reacted to plays early in the down. Number 5, quarterback Trey Lance, going to the Carolina Panthers. You think the Panthers are one and done with Teddy B?
So I was actually on Carolina radio last week, and I said, if you are in a position, again, the same as Dwayne Haskins' argument, if you're in a position to grab one of those top 3 guys, it means that Teddy Bridgewater wasn't the guy, because for as probably bad as the talent is there in Carolina, it's not on the offensive side of the ball. They have talent offensively. Absolutely. They have some of the best positional, they have the best weapons of any team in the NFL, probably top 5 in that regard, and an offensive line that it can get the job done. So you have enough there to say if Teddy Bridgewater is your guy. If you are all of a sudden drafting top 3, top 4, top 5, and you have a chance at a guy like Trey Lance, Justin Fields, whoever it may be, you go get that guy, because it means Teddy Bridgewater wasn't good enough to get you out of a top 5 pick last season.
And PFF will always advocate for that. Will always advocate if you're in a position to get a very good quarterback and your quarterback isn't good or you haven't seen it from him to be that next caliber type of player, get the quarterback. It's the most important position on the football field by a country mile. And if you're ever drafting in the top 5 and one of those big names fall to you, we were advocating that Washington went after a quarterback at number 2 overall this past year. Tua Tagovailoa at 2 did make some sense.
Yeah. And it's like, what would the Titans have rather had? Would you rather have Mariota, or would you have rather had Carson Wentz? That year they traded out of the number 1 pick. those teams, if it gets that bad that you are drafting that highly, in almost all likelihood, means that he wasn't your guy.
New York Jets picking at number 6. They grab wide receiver out of LSU, Jamar Chase. I love this comment you have in here. Chase can shake you and straight bully you. I also think he's got absurd speed for his size. He's a great straight line runner. I think very good at the releases and also very physical. Beats some more physical cornerbacks in the SEC. I don't see another receiver, especially with Rondale Moore opting out of the 2020 season. Mm-hmm. I don't see another receiver passing him up. I think he's wide receiver 1 through and through.
100%. I completely agree with that. He's that good. But this one's the interesting one. They're talking about the New York Jets here. What do they do if they're drafting top 3, top 4? Because they didn't put, like, Carolina put a lot of talent around Teddy. They still have shit around Sam Darnold. Like that offensive line still is not good, even though they completely 5 new starters this year. The wide receiver talent still not good, and they're trying to emphasize Le'Veon Bell this year instead of giving the ball more to Sam Darnold. And obviously, your head coach doesn't have the greatest track record with just offense in general, shall we say? So it could be bad there for New York. They could be drafting 1, 2, 3 in 2021. Do you give up on Sam Darnold then?
I think so. Absolutely. I think you have to eventually pull the trigger. And if you're drafting,
not sure it's giving up though, also to draft a guy, but
especially because I doubt that they're in a position to pick Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields when it's all said and done. But I think they will have an opportunity at Trey Lance, and I think Trey Lance, somewhat like similar to Jordan Love in terms of like
Mahomesian.
Yeah. You have to draft the arm talent and maybe develop him behind Sam Darnold for a year. But if he blows it up, then you have him take over. Number 7, New York Giants take edge defender Gregory Rousseau of Miami.
Plus, you got an extra first rounder as the Jets, so you can still give him some help later in the draft.
That's true. All right, edge defender Gregory Rousseau, the guy we're interviewing at the back end of the podcast here, goes to the New York Giants at 7. Going to move ahead here.
Luckily, we had him as edge 1 going into the interview.
Geez,
he was like 6th edge on our board, and like, hey, sorry, we don't think you're a first rounder, Greg.
The thing I want to mention with Rousseau, I know I said I wanted to move quickly, is last year was his redshirt freshman season.
Yeah.
Like he's only played one real legitimate year. And even this past year, I would argue that a lot of his production was on stunts. A lot of his production was just beating really bad competition. He needs to get a lot better if he's going to be dominant to the levels of a Chase Young or these guys that are really polished coming out.
That's the thing, is don't expect him to be Nick Bosa in 2021 when he comes out. Like, don't expect him to hit the ground and be lights out right away. But I think he has, as impressive as he was in such a limited time after, playing all over in high school and not focusing on defensive line and then getting injured his first year in college and not having that practice time, I think the arrow is trending massively upwards for him, and he'll get there eventually.
Yep. All right, number 8, Las Vegas Raiders still continuing to attack pass rush. Christian Barmore, who is the next name in Alabama, in Tuscaloosa, to kind of blow up. If he does, the SEC is still planning to play in the fall. If he does get that opportunity, only on 269 snaps this past year, an 88.1 pass rushing grade, that is a telltale sign for another one of these Quinnen Williams types that really blows up. And I think you see it already with Barmore.
I was going to say, so Marvin Wilson's our defensive tackle 1 right now. I would just bet money that changes by the time the draft happens.
Yeah.
If we get a fall season. Mm-hmm. If we see him play, just Barmore.
Wilson doesn't have the juice that Barmore has.
He has more physical.
At every position, nearly, you're looking for juice. You're looking for explosiveness. I think it's a big reason why I don't see Shaun Wade potentially moving upwards as an outside corner. I think he needs a little bit more juice. Obviously, he's a fluid mover, former 5-star, but I think that explosiveness is so important at every position now. And when you see it in Barmore, even on just 269 snaps, you get a little excited.
Yeah, and that's like the Caleb Farley why I said it's going to be difficult to unseat him. No one just has that explosiveness size that he has at corner, and obviously he's been productive. So, all
right, number 9, Miami Dolphins take linebacker Dylan Moses. Interesting pick here because he has not played a ton of football. He is all hype, I would say. Not all hype. He has some good production. He has really good pass rushing production early in his Alabama career. There's some splash plays you like, but a lot of it's hype because he's this big name recruit guy that got offered at in 8th grade by LSU at an Alabama camp, by the way. He was it was an Ole Miss camp. He was at a different team's camp and LSU offered him through the rumor mill, whatever it may be. This guy has been training since he was like 12 years old with his dad.
Doing like 3-a-days.
3-a-days, 500 push-ups a day or whatever it was with his dad. Like, absolutely.
I don't even do 3-a-days. I work out a lot. Don't do 3-a-days.
Absolute freak that is Dylan Moses. He goes to the Dolphins at 9. Detroit Lions at 10.
I just want to say about that, I think Moses in a man-heavy scheme is going to be his best fit. Okay. Blitzing and playing man coverage, I think is
if you don't
his
rush
bread
the
and
passer
butter.
with Moses, you're making a mistake.
That's his bread and butter. I think if you're drafting him into some place like, you want him to play just cover 3 all day, I don't think it's going to be nearly as impactful.
Number 10, one of my, this receiving class, man, when you first said it, you said it early in the process. This 2021 class could be, if not will be, better than the 2020 receiving class. And as I look at these names on this list, Jalen Waddle comes in at number 10 to the Detroit Lions. Absolutely electric. Potentially a better prospect than Henry Ruggs if he's given the opportunity this fall.
I think he will be. He just, plays faster, like off the line of scrimmage with the ball in his hands. And I don't want to say play faster because Ruggs obviously did play fast with the ball in his hands, but it's just more dynamic.
He's
Ruggs
jittery.
Ruggs was Paris Campbell-y in terms of just like in a straight line, you just weren't going to touch this guy, and he could you'd bounce off him in a straight line. But Waddle has, elite return ability, elite just ability in space to make you miss. And so 12.2 yards after the catch per reception last year. Tops in all of college football.
That's insane.
He's a monster. He just is.
I think he, again, could go under the hashtag fun to watch, too. In addition to being a top 10 caliber prospect, I think his tape is incredible. Also, producer Mike, going to need Paris Campbell-y in the timestamps. Can't lose that one. That one is a fantastic way to describe. All right, Jacksonville Jaguars at 11. Cornerback Caleb Farley. PFF's cornerback 1. I think, again, people like Patrick Surtain. People like Sean Wade. I don't think they're overtaking Caleb Farley. I think Caleb Farley is the cornerback 1, a true outside corner with the length and athleticism necessary to be match and mirror at the next level. Yeah,
so the thing is, you drafted him high because he's a man corner, and there's kind of that dichotomy where he's man corner, but he's played like 60 snaps in press man coverage in his career at Virginia Tech. So you don't necessarily know, but I think we've seen enough that
Senior Bowl would be fine.
Senior Bowl would be nice if he can get there. Apparently, Jim Nagy said he's not on track to do it, but obviously online courses, you could take like 30 credits this fall. Maybe, who knows? He's not doing
he's not playing football.
Yeah, but I will say that his speed is legit. If it's not 4.3, there was no one who got past him and then separated down the field from him. He was making up steps on every guy. And when you're big and when you're fast, it just gives you so much leeway in terms of what you can do from a technical. You don't have to be perfect with your technique. You just have so much ability to make up ground. And as the Colts GM likes to say, Chris Ballard, give me guys who can make mistakes and make up for it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I was reading, I think it was Dane Brugler who did an interview with some coaches and evaluators talking about no one's drafting looking for a zone corner right now. People want man corners. People want guys that can really match and mirror, shadow guys at the next level. It really does allow your defense to be that much more versatile. It allows you to do so much more things.
And you don't have to worry about like RPOs and shit, like some schematic aspects. You take away when you play just press man coverage.
All right, let's move a little bit more quickly here. Los Angeles Chargers at 12, edge defender Carlos Basham Jr. He goes by Boogie. Might need to keep talking about him with the Boogie.
Calling
nickname.
A grown man Boogie.
Really?
That's tough.
I can.
Although he's like 275, I call him whatever he wants me to call him.
Fair. But he goes to Chargers at 12. I mean, Melvin Ingram's contract status is interesting. I think
he's the first holdout, non-holdout.
Yeah, holding out but not practicing, which I feel like is smart.
Well, the new CBA, if he were to miss practice, like he would have to pay the fines or whatever, like he'd get boned. So they kind of they thought they eliminated holdouts by that, but now he just shows up to the building and says, no, I'm not going to
Jeez. But I mean, we talked about Carlos Basham a ton. I think he's one of the better edge defenders in this class. Obviously, 12th here on the mock draft. I think with him, I'd still want to see more polish because I do think he plays like a bull in a china shop a lot. And he is a bull. I mean, if you give him a china shop like some of the freaking offensive tackles in the ACC, he's going to wreck them. But I think he needs to go against some top-tier talent, better his moves, better his pass rush moves. I say that about every edge defender in this class. Every edge defender in this class has a ceiling, a very good one. But if you're not going to get better from a moves list perspective, it's hard to really predict legitimate success in the NFL.
That's the sad part about not having football this fall for a lot of these guys. The edge class is just full of
We need those videos from Rousseau, man.
But I will say Basham, he's a better prospect to me than Marcus Davenport. Davenport went 14th, so I think you can pencil
You've made that
Basham
comp before
15th.
as well.
Yeah, like they're very similar in their skill set. I just think Basham's a little more explosive and just a little better at this point.
Denver Broncos at 13 take offensive tackle Sam Cosmi out of Texas. Garrett Bowles has not lived up to expectations. Jawan James is a high floor producer at tackle, but has never been an elite
and he opted out
in the NFL, and he opted out of the 2020 season. I think Sam Cosmi, another guy in this class that you really want to see him play football in the fall because his ceiling and his athletic ability, his feet, all stand out as like high ceiling type of prospect, but there is some plays on his tape where you're kind of scratching your head. Yeah, stronger is another thing too. All right, let's jump to 14. Atlanta Falcons edge defender Kwity Paye out of Michigan, the number 1 player on Bruce Feldman's freaks list, the guy that can reportedly run a 6'3" 3-cone at like 270 pounds, 272 pounds. If he runs that, he might be going top 10.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not okay.
If he even like touches like sub 6'6", he's going to go in the top 16 picks. Like, I don't care what his tape says. Rashawn Gary's tape was trash, and he went 14th also. Like, he went 14th? Yeah, 14th also.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to get drafted highly. Someone's going to buy in. And his tape's not awful.
No.
He just is...
No moves.
No moves.
That guy puts his helmet into the inside shoulder of the tackle on so many of his pass rush reps. But he has the bend, he has the ankle flexion to like really turn the corner if he learns some better hands in that thing. And I think that's important with Kwity Paye.
I learned that I enjoyed was... Oh, wait, never mind. I'm a different guy.
Oh, no.
Keep going.
Jeez. 15, Arizona.
Always was a basketball player until junior year.
Oh, wow.
So I've all in on OA now.
There you go.
Love former basketball players.
With Kwity Paye, too, we've talked about this before, but a little bit in his background. Played running back at a small high school in Rhode Island. I think all high schools in Rhode Island are probably small, though, to be fair. I mean,
Providence is a big city.
Really?
I don't know.
It's not like I don't know. Coming from California, every high school is small, east of California, really. But let's get to the Arizona Cardinals. They grab one of my favorite tight ends in the class. I almost like this guy more than Pat Freiermuth. It's Kyle Pitts of Florida, a guy that could legitimately have a Travis Kelce-like impact in the NFL because I think he can play outside. He can play the nub in trips to the left or whatever it may be. He can do so much in open space. He can do it after the catch. I think Kyle Pitts is where the NFL teams want to go at the tight end position. I just think you need to see more of it. I think I want more targets. I want more opportunities to see him with the football.
Well, so before you scream at me, the Cardinals don't use a tight end. Why would they draft Kyle Pitts? You just described it. This dude would be a first-round pick. If he was a wide receiver, he'd probably be like a first-round pick. He had more receiving yards than why can't I think of any names today? Van Jefferson.
Yeah.
There's just so many names. He had more receiving yards than Van Jefferson last year, and Van Jefferson was a second-round pick. And another guy, he's not even 20 years old yet. This guy's young as hell, producing in the SEC. I think if he just can
and creating separation too, that's what I love.
Yeah.
I mean,
if he can scrape 250, this guy he's going to be a very high
It's
draft.
so rare, especially at the collegiate level, that you see enough of a sample size of a tight end going against single coverage concepts to feel comfortable about his ability to separate. With Pitts, there's a handful of reps against LSU. There's a handful of reps against other teams in the SEC, and it's dominant. All right, Chicago Bears at 16 grab who you think is the best interior offensive lineman in this class? Wyatt Davis of Ohio State. What makes Davis?
Not alone. There's other people.
Yeah. What makes Davis so great?
He's got one great balance. He's just so under control.
Balance at the
love balance on interior offensive lineman, and he is
balance over finish.
Oh, all day, all day. Great balance, and he's actually got a little more power and athleticism to his game than Jonah Jackson. I was raved about Jonah Jackson's balance, but Davis, he'll bury guys at times. That was not going to be Jonah Jackson's game. This is not going to be his game in the NFL. I think Davis has that combination of pretty much everything across the board, and that's why you could see him be a top 16 pick even as a guard.
You saying Jonah Jackson remind me of Jonah Williams. I saw a training camp clip of him playing tackle finally, and it was exciting. I didn't send it out. I kind of just injected it into my veins by myself. But it's fun to see him playing football again. One of my favorite interviews I've ever done is with Jonah Williams, one of the smartest players I've ever talked to. Really diligent with his work ethic. I think he's going to be a good player. All right, 17. Tennessee Titans. Wide receiver Devontae Smith. I love Devontae Smith. Some people are saying, though, he's not fast. Is Devontae Smith not fast? I've seen that he could run in the 4.5s, 4.6s from some people. I don't buy it. This guy has legit speed. He burnt Derek Stingley a handful of times. And I'm not talking about the rep where Stingley's looking to the sideline. He could get by Derek Stingley with good speed. I think Devontae Smith is somewhat getting slept on in this class a little bit.
I'd be very surprised if he doesn't break 4.5.
Yeah.
That would blow my mind just because he plays faster than that. And he has very, very good ball skills. The only thing I worry about is that he is 175. He's the skinniest receiver you'll see.
And he doesn't have Marquise Brown speed.
And that's the thing. When you're 5'9", 175 or 170, you're usually agile. You're usually shifty. But when you're 6'1", 175, you're less dense. You don't have as much muscle mass per capita. I don't know how to even describe that. But you are not the same as being 5'9", 175, and you're probably less shifty because you're a little taller. And so I just worry about that. Obviously, that's, I think, why he came back to school. He said, I need to get bigger. He has to get bigger. And so we'll see what he looks like this season. But I still think with his ball skills and his ability to, attack the football at that size still is impressive. That's why he led Alabama receiving yards last year.
This next pick, I'll say, is very unlikely, though I do love the player. 18, Cleveland Browns grab, Purdue wide receiver Rondale Moore. I just don't without a season to play and how small he is and the injury history, I think there's enough to push him outside of the first round. Yes, he could blow up the combine, but I don't know. I think there's going to be some teams that are hesitant to draft him in the first round.
If he runs a 4.3 anything, like
fair
4.39
and like a sub 6.6 3 cone, something along those lines.
4.3 anything, he's going in the first round. Again, speed plays, and you assume an upward trajectory of guys' careers. Guys don't peak as true freshmen. So for him to have 114
that's why dominator
catches,
rating exists.
So 1,258 yards, 12 scores. I think he broke dominator rating with that freshman year. Like that is about as good a freshman year as we've seen in college football history from a receiver.
Absolutely.
So
I think he still has the PFF college record for yards after the catch per reception by a true freshman. Like that, what he did that year was truly incredible. And he did it against very good competition. He toasted Shaun Wade from the slot a handful of reps in that Ohio State game. I really do think he's going to be an elite player. I'm just interested to see how much these evaluators weigh in injury.
I don't think Shaun Wade was playing that year.
Dude, you got to turn back on the tape. 2018, he definitely was playing that year. 2018?
Okay, 2018, my bad.
Come on, man. Are you serious? All right, 19. Let's move quickly here. 19. Yes. I keep saying that, but we keep loving on these guys here. Loving on these guys is not the expression I wanted to use personally.
You were doing that.
Yeah. 19. Pittsburgh Steelers interior offensive lineman Trey Smith, the guy that we've talked to about with Jeff Schwartz, who's a big fan. He's played a good amount of snaps this past year, but he's struggled to develop because of an injury. I think blood clots in his lungs have kept him from really developing into the player everyone thought he would be coming out as a coveted recruit at Tennessee, but he goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 19.
That dude's just a Steelers offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Like the way he plays, he would fit in right there.
Nice. 20, New England Patriots drafting at 20, which is rare to see, but you have tight end Pat Freiermuth of Penn State.
I had to do it.
You just had to do it.
Yeah, I had to do it.
Make the Gronk comparisons now.
Yeah. That's just the type of... He's in a Gronk mold. He's not Rob Gronkowski, but that's like a jumbo guy with some actual after the catch ability, some actual ability to get open. I think he is a very much a first round pick. He doesn't have to play this year to be a first round pick. If Cole Kmet can go 50th or whatever he went, middle of the second round, this guy's a first round pick.
Number 21, Minnesota Vikings. You haven't brought this name up a lot on the podcast. Edge defender Joshua Kendo of Florida, going to the Minnesota Vikings. Talk to me about this one.
Dude's a freak. I mean, physically, he looks like Greg Rousseau. He's 6'7", 265.
Not a lot of people look like Greg Rousseau.
I know, right? Like the guy is ridiculous looking. Former 5-star, but also it's worrisome that he's former 5-star and never actually been productive. 69.5 passer grade last year, got injured after 3 games. There's some reps though where you're just like, damn. Like when he bull rushes, like he's super flexible for a guy that size. I just think Vikings, with their track record of developing just long, big athletes like that, I think he would be a perfect fit for them.
All right, next 3 here. Buffalo Bills at 22 grab Shaun Wade of Ohio State. You have cornerback/safety, which I respect. 23, Philadelphia Eagles safety Andre Sisco. And 24, Green Bay Packers wide receiver Rashad Bateman of Minnesota. I'll start with Wade. I wrote an article today on PFF.com talking about there's been 17 cornerbacks drafted in the first round since 2014. All of them had at least 421 snaps at outside corner. And that guy who's the bottom there was Byron Jones of the Dallas Cowboys. Shaun Wade has 55. 55 career snaps at outside corner. I think he better projects as this slot box safety prospect. I think that's where you want him to play too. I feel like it's treated way more as a knock than I want it to be. He's a very physical player, an excellent tackler, and has the mentality now in an NFL where oftentimes the slot cornerback is playing in run defense all the time, is the force player in run defense all the time. And I think Shaun Wade as a box slot type is well worth a top 30, top 40 pick.
And also, I said the Bills here. I gave him to the Bills because I think outside cornerback of the Bills is different than a lot of other teams and what they're asking guys to do. And it would be very similar to what he's asked to do in the slot in terms of a lot of coming up and tackling, a lot of making plays in front of him, a lot of zone drops. Like I think that would be a place where I would feel fine about him playing outside cornerback in a scheme like that.
Andre Sisco, the Syracuse safety, like I said, going to the Eagles.
He's going to go high. I just like if he runs a 4.3 with
at that size,
12 at his size with 12 picks already through 2 years. I don't care about the negative plays and that his run D is kind of butt cheeks, but he's going to go high. Like that's what teams look for is speed and ball production at safety position. He's going to go highly.
I mean, all I'm saying is if you draft Andre Cisco and you start him, book your tickets to the roller coaster because this guy takes a hell of a lot of risks, which I'm not saying is always a bad thing, but those risks need to become more calculated. And they're more calculated than, let's say, like Paris Ford, the Pittsburgh safety, who I think plays really reckless as well. But I will say this, to talk about PFF's grading system a bit, getting forced incompletions, getting that ball production does lead to more positively graded plays in PFF system. So taking risks is important to grade well, but also giving up big plays will destroy you. Giving up big gains in the passing game will destroy your PFF coverage grade. We've talked about Rashad Bateman a ton. You've comped him to, who have you comped him to? Going to the Packers, have you comped
Allen
him to
Robinson?
Oh, Allen Robinson. That's right.
He should be a first rounder.
Rashad Bateman.
And the Packers should draft a wide receiver also.
I think with Rashad Bateman, I really do like him. The only thing that frustrates me is I just don't feel the separation between Rashad Bateman and Tyler Johnson is round 1 and round 5. I think there was more to Tyler Johnson than we knew off the field. It's why he was not invited to the Senior Bowl. Yeah. It's why I think he's not even playing in Tampa Bay right now. Obviously, that could be injury related, but I do think there's a lot of reasons why off the field, because he was the highest graded receiver in college football last year, Tyler Johnson of Minnesota. I think there's some off-field stuff there that keeps him from being his best, and I think some players or some evaluators recognize that. Indianapolis Colts at 25 grabbed Marvin Wilson, PFF's defensive tackle 1, though Barmore goes much higher because he's got the juice. New York Jets at 26, Alex Leatherwood. I love this guy's pass sets. I think Alex Leatherwood is another fun to watch offensive tackle because his feet move so well. And when you see consistent footwork like Leatherwood, it's easy to get excited about him. Compare Leatherwood to Jedrick Wills for me.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to project this tackle class right now after Sewell in terms of where they're going to fall. A lot of talented guys at the top, but Leatherwood's just not nearly as explosive as Wills, but man, I think he's better in pass direction. And last year, I mean, he had fewer pressures, only allowed 9 pressures. Jedrick Wills allowed 13. The guy, and the ones he did allow were like borderline. He's leaning on him off the edge. Like that matchup against Caleb Chase on LSU, he never really got on a rep. Like he had ones that were like borderline losses, but he never really got absolutely sauced. And I think that's kind of his biggest sort of positive is that always under control, never really overextending himself, never getting himself in bad situations. And for that to be his first year as an offensive tackle, now obviously he was recruited as a tackle, but played guard early on in his career at Alabama. For that to be his first year at left tackle, it was pretty damn impressive. Dallas Cowboys, I love this pick. It's Patrick Surtain of Alabama joining Trayvon Diggs for the Dallas Cowboys. Patrick Surtain, for those who don't know, or Surtain, doesn't know, 6'2", 202, big dude. And I think a very similar skill set to Trayvon Diggs. I think their weaknesses are similar, but their strengths are also very similar in that they're bullies, can be very physical at the line of scrimmage, long as hell. And when you have that length, it pays off. Even it helps you kind of correct those mistakes like you spoke to with Chris Ballard's all motto or whatever you said. And he's 6'2", 202. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets up to like 210 because he's only a true sophomore. He's got a big frame. The guy's going to be, he's going to be one of those just long press corners all his entire career that just lives at the line of scrimmage and lives in your pads. I think he would be a good fit. I'm not sure he lasts that long, but I do wonder about his speed. I don't think he's going to be
running with Trayvon Diggs.
I don't think he's a sub 4.5 guy. Yeah, I just don't really see that on his tape. I would be happy if he was. If he runs in the 4.4s, I bet he goes much higher than 27th. All right, 28, 29, and 30. Let's rattle off here. You have a running back going in the first round. Tampa Bay Buccaneers get Travis Etienne, who would have been PFF's running back 1 in the 2020 NFL draft. He did decide to declare. The Clemson back goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Tampa at the back end, you could see running backs mocked them a handful of times. San Francisco 49ers grab Walker Little of Stanford, who is a tough evaluation, man, because the Pac-12 is not playing football this fall. Ideally, he has some opportunities in the spring, or maybe they spark up a home and home because he has not played a lot of football, but was this monster coveted recruit. I think former 5-star athletic ability, size, all of that. So we talked about some of the guys that got screwed by the Big Ten canceling. He's the guy that got the most screwed by the Pac-12 canceling. Oh, 100%. 72 snaps, 1 game, all of 2019. 72 snaps in 2 years going into the draft is just not going to go high. Like teams are going to look at that and be terrified of what, they just don't know what a guy's. He's going to test well. 2 years. He's going to test really well. Very good athlete. I think he can. I think he's very good. He would have been in the tackle 1 conversation. I thought just based off that Northwestern game, I thought he was. It was very, very good tape throughout the course of that game, but. its sample size was tiny, and you just need to see more of it. So I think he's a good scheme fit for the 49ers. I could see them taking a chance, even if he doesn't play.
This next one here, I got a 30 rack of Miller Lite if this guy goes in the first round, because I love the player, but it would be an
Where do you find 30
incredible
racks?
rise. Chaz,
24s.
I guess 24s.
Yeah.
I don't know. Chaz Surratt, linebacker of North Carolina, who formerly played quarterback, made the transition to linebacker this past year. Talk about reckless. Missed a ton of tackles. One of the highest missed tackle percentages at linebacker we've seen in the PFF college era, dating back to 2014. I think he needs to get a lot better, but I understand why he'd sneak into the first round. He's athletic. He's aggressive.
Long.
He has the mentality for the position. He's got good size. Like the tools, the traits, the mentality. I'm getting excited. I'm starting to get interested, but it's just like I need to see way fewer missed tackles, and he needs to feel way more comfortable at the position because he's not yet, just not.
That's the thing. He obviously needs this season as much as a lot of these guys, but the mentality is the part there that you just can't coach and that you see on his tape all the time.
People talk about traits that you can't coach.
Ferocious, the way he
mentality is important.
Attacks blocks, attacks ball carriers. Now, his form on tackles, work in progress. He was a quarterback, man. The guy was a quarterback the year before.
His first game is rough. It's like so many missed tackles in that first game.
I'm giving him a little leeway here. I think he's a talented guy.
I respect it. 31, Kansas City Chiefs edge defender Jason Oweh. We've talked about him a ton. The Penn State edge defender. He's got the juice. UC flashes. Reportedly ran in the 4.3s at 257.
5% body fat at 257, which I don't even think that's possible.
I don't know.
For a guy that young,
he's a freak, and I think he's had better production and honestly better pass rush moves than Rousseau in some ways. I don't think he's that caliber athlete, doesn't have the same frame or whatever.
He is dog shit against the run.
Yeah.
Like,
0th percentile in run stop percentage.
People talked about like a lot of criticisms of Julian Akwara where he was kind of like soft and played high against the run. Oweh is even worse than that. I mean, that's why you didn't play last year. That's why freak athleticism. Yeah. That's why he was not an every down player, not a starter for Penn State.
That'll do it. Especially in college where running the football is you get plus.
Yeah, that's why guys don't. Yeah, that's why guys will not see the field in college. That's why, Patrick Queen was what they worried about with him, why he didn't see the field. So
lastly, Baltimore Ravens at 32, winning the Super Bowl, according to PFF's Mike Renner. No,
you heard it first.
Las Vegas Super Bowl odds. Safety Trayvon Moehrig of TCU. Why not Ardarius Washington? Stand by it. Stand by it.
No one's going to draft Ardarius Washington the first.
He's too small. Carl Joseph fears, but he's a better athlete than Carl Joseph.
What was Joseph coming out?
5'8",
Joseph was
5'9", or
190
5'10".
though, right?
Yeah. He was a little bit more rocked up.
Okay, so 5'9", 175 is a tough ass. Now he's probably going to get bigger, but
not taller. I'll tell you that right now, Mike.
I don't see it. But Moehrig, 6'2", 207, he hits like a brick too. That guy's going to be. He's going to be in the conversation for safety one. He had 2 forced fumbles last year.
Holland.
I think so. Holland didn't even get in this mock draft. I don't think the NFL is going to be super high on him because he doesn't have. He's got a versatile sort of coverage skill set, but he's not terribly athletic, and he's not like. He doesn't play a physical brand of football, I don't think.
Yeah.
Compared to Trayvon Moehrig, who has that athleticism, much more physical. Like he had 2 forced fumbles last year just from hits. Mm-hmm. He didn't hit the ball. He just hit the guy so hard they dropped it. So that's the type of player Moehrig is, and going to the Ravens would be a sexy fit.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.